Tess Marshall arrives in Detroit for a job interview. She had applied for a research position with a documentary filmmaker. She had booked an Airbnb in a mediocre location. When she arrived at the house, someone else by the name of Keith was already living there. Keith told her that he had booked the house on a different app, which might have led to the confusion. Tess tried calling Bonnie, the property dealer, but she was not picking up. Keith offered her tea and suggested that she should spend the night instead of going out to look for another place to stay. It was late at night and there were heavy rains. Tess felt a little skeptical, but due to her lack of options she decided to stay over. She used the restroom and roamed the house for any red flags. She even checked his ID card. Keith's behavior towards her was very welcoming. He cooked dinner for both of them, and after a bit of conversation, things became friendly and Tess relaxed a bit. He insisted her to take the bedroom so that she could lock the door and feel more safe. After a few hours, Tess was woken up by door creaking. Someone had opened it. She got out of the bed and went towards the hall where Keith was sleeping. He was having a nightmare and got jump scared when she woke him up. Next day, Tess drove towards her job interview. She met with Catherine and they discussed the position. When Tess told her about her living situation, Catherine warned her not to live in that odd neighborhood. Tess got back and was walking towards the house when a homeless man started chasing her. He was screaming at her to leave the place. Tess got scared and quickly got in the house. She located a basement door and went down to get toilet paper. When she was coming back up, the door closed and she got locked in the basement. Upon pondering, Tess found something extremely creepy. She found a key to a hidden door in the basement. In the room there was a bed, a camera, and a bucket. On the walls there were handprints of blood. This scared her. Through the window she saw Keith and called out his name, asking him to open the locked basement door. She was freaking out. Keith unlocked the basement. Tess came up and immediately got her bag as ready to leave now. Keith requested her to stop. He wanted to go down and see the room that Tess had described, but he was afraid that he could get locked too. He wanted her just to stay until he comes back up. Tess agreed. When Keith didn't return for a few hours, Tess went after him. This time, there was a hidden dungeon. She walked down and saw Keith freaked out. Tess begged him to go back, but he wanted her to go towards the other way. During this, a woman came running and smashed Keith's head on the wall several times. 2 weeks later, a man named AJ is seen driving towards the network headquarters. He was a television actor, was recently accused of inappropriate behavior by his co-star. Due to the ongoing lawsuit, Network had decided not to include him in the latest show. AJ had to sell his properties to support the lawsuit, which was why he decided to live in the raggedy house. He settled in and decided to go out to a bar. That night, AJ was hung over. The next day, while wandering around the house, he found the door to the basement and decided to go down. There is a hidden door. He opens it and it is the same room as Tess had seen previously. Further, he also follows a dungeon. There was a bright light coming from a room. AJ followed, or he saw a video playing. Before he could figure anything out, a creature ran towards him and he fell into a cage. Tess was also in this cage. The narrative jumps back to the 80s where a hard-looking man is buying groceries. He got back in his car, arrived in the neighborhood where he was living. This is Frank, the owner of the house. Back to the dungeon. The deformed woman was forcefully trying to breastfeed AJ. Tess took this as an opportunity to escape. She was finally out of the house. On the road, Tess met a homeless man. She told him about what had happened. He advised her to leave immediately, but Tess wanted to go back for AJ. She found the police and narrated the incident, but they were not interested. Tess decided to go back to the basement herself to save AJ. He, on the other hand, had found Frank's room. Frank was shriveled in his bed and was extremely weak. Frank wanted something from the drawer, but AJ could not understand. He shifted the entire bed towards the drawer. Frank could not even speak properly. In the room, there were different video cassettes labeled with names of different women. AJ played the videos and was disgusted and shot. The videos were shot in the hidden room of the various women Frank had abducted and subjected to sexual and physical violence over time. AJ was angry at Frank. He started shouting and cursing him. During this, Frank took out a gun from the drawer and shot himself. Outside, Tess was waiting out in the car for the creature to come out looking for her. As she did, Tess rammed the car in her, thinking it had killed her. She went back inside for AJ. As she got to the dungeon, AJ thought that it was the creature and accidentally shot Tess. He picked her up and helped her get out of the house. Both of them went towards the water, where the homeless man was already sitting. He started telling them both about the gruesome acts Frank had committed that had left the neighborhood dark and empty. Out of nowhere, The creature came and attacked and killed him. Tess and AJ ran onto the top of the tower and the creature followed them. Tess was already shot and was in extreme pain. She could not keep up with AJ. This was when AJ figured that it was one of them that could be saved. Tess was already hurt, so he decided that she should be killed. He selfishly pushed Tess down. When the creature saw this, she went after Tess to save her. The creature thought of them as her babies. Tess was saved by her and she took the hit to the ground instead of Tess. AJ went down to see Tess alive. The creature strangled him to death. The creature was tending to Tess. It wanted to take Tess back to the house and look after her. Tess shot her and carried herself towards help. This is how the horror movie Barbarian ends. Subscribe for explanation of latest Hollywood movies.